TTC. I'm Dolphignition, here with my thoughts on these conference games, and one word sums it all up in my world. Disappointing. The lines were drawn in the sand, and to the NFC conference fans who stated shame and schadenfreude upon us fans of AFC for not beating Tom Brady. You all should be fucking all should be fucking ashamed of yourselves. Before I get started with the big picture, let me go ahead and address as I'm making this video, the AFC Championship ended with the Chiefs winning 38-24. I picked Buffalo Bills to go all the way. Should have listened to the experts. But what really bugs me is this. Now, don't get me wrong. It was written in obsidian that the Chiefs were the top tier team of the AFC conference. And the way they played the entire marathon... Hang on. The way they played the entire marathon, they were hungry for a second Lombardi. Mahomes got back on his feet after a concerning foot injury. Tyreek Hill is bobbing and weaving that entire Buffalo D-line. That guy that missed catching the ball, that I forgot his name, that mistakenly led Buffalo to score a touchdown after that mishap, came back and made up for his mistake in the long run. And that leads up to one thing. Kansas City's coaching staff is just too damn good. However, as I watch Buffalo perform Week 17, where they faced us, it was etched in my mind that I expected that same energy Buffalo unleashed upon us when they faced Kansas City. What I got in return is them bending over as the lines are clearly drawn in the sand. Buffalo hasn't made it to the playoffs in a long time, and that ultimately showed in that game against the Chiefs. Their defense was awful, their offense was lackluster. The Josh Allen we saw in the regular season was not the same Josh Allen we saw in the conference championship. And yeah, this is probably the starting stage for the future of the Bills moving forward, so I suppose after losing the last two seasons to their first opponent in the playoffs in a row, to suddenly evolving into being a conference championship contender, I should take it easy on them. But it's really disappointing when I see this team that I thought would be so dynamic moving into the playoffs, the way they performed against us Week 17, and in some of the other games in their regular season, to all of a sudden getting schooled just like that. All I could say to the Bills is this. You guys did fantastic this season, and if you keep this same energy going forward, you might finally get that Lombardi. Just promise me this. Please. Please. Do not become the next Green Bay Packers, which I'll get to right now. But allow me to build myself up to that. Here's the ultimate reason why I'm making this video. Each and every single one of you fans of the National Football Conference teams who shamed us fans of the AFC because we had a hard time beating Brady ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Now, if you haven't addressed that statement, pat yourselves on the back for not saying the most stupidest argument you can make to us fans of the AFC. But to anyone who said that, this conference that each and almost every single year you criticize us for not taking down Tom Brady's Patriots like it's a piece of cake. Guess what? I'm not sorry for bringing up this in massive obvious. But to the fans of the Dallas Cowboys, the Washington football team, the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants, the Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, the Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, Arizona Cardinals, Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco 49ers, and Seattle Seahawks. You all let Tom Brady take over a nobody team that hasn't been relevant since 2003 to be your conference championship. You hype up Russell Wilson, fucking lost to a 9-fingered quarterback at his own house. You hyped up the Rams. They win big games, but then they give the Jets their first win. You hype up Who Dat with Drew Brees thinking in his last hurrah he's going to retire with a second Lombardi. And I was rooting for that to happen as well. Instead of that, he retires in shame. Not as shameful as Dan Marino's exit, but I'd argue it's along those lines when you're a quarterback who's been in the league for a very long time whilst breaking records. If you're going to go out with your last loss to a team led by a young future quarterback and not a guy who's had more success than yours and is 1 year older than you. After that game, we've all learned a lesson about the difference between franchise quarterbacks and legendary quarterbacks. Shame on you, Drew Brees. And shame on you, Michael Thomas, for not stepping up to the plate in the playoffs. And I saw what you said, some shots you've said at Drew Brees. Shut the fuck up. And last but certainly not least, the Green Bay Packers, the Notre Dame of professional American football. That's right, I said it. In the realm of being hyped up, having dozens of fans across this country in the last 10 years after you've won that championship, you still haven't learned your fucking lesson. When you're in the conference championship, don't look past your opponent and think about what you're going to do in the Super Bowl, because you might not make it there. Now, 9 years after that was probably that case, so I expected that since this time it's a real opponent, like the way Tampa has all their players with Tom Brady set up, I would imagine you'd play seriously. You'd play dynamic. You wouldn't let them get into your heads because you're the Green Bay Packers. You've got Aaron Rodgers. You're always competitive. And yet, your results always end repetitive. And it's come to a point where it's become insanely ridiculous. Every fucking time you make it to the conference championship, if it's not the Chicago Bears, it's a fucking loss. Except this time, Aaron Rodgers actually blew it. When he was in the goal zone in the fourth quarter, I'm not talking about when he tackled when he got tackled by Ndamukong Suh. I'm talking about the play after that. Why did he decide to run, but then in the final split second, throw the ball when the pathway is clear as fuck for him to just run it in and score a touchdown? All those stats he collected, all those amazing throws he's thrown, all those trick plays he's unleashed against his opponents, all those pissed off Aaron Rodgers memes urinating tree kept using. For that? For choking like that? Are you fucking kidding me? And now after that, it leads to Tampa Bay forcing you all to run out all your timeouts, having to become so desperate that you thought you could get away with pulling a jersey. I honestly have no hate for the Packers, but this same old nonsense is making it hard for me not to slightly hate them for this repetitive culture. I hope this is the last time we see this disgrace of a decade of dominance come to an end, because and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there, have had enough of the same old dominate the regular season only to choke in the conference championship bullshit. Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback, and I've denied the ridicule thrown at him. But that game between him and the Buccaneers turned out to be true. In the regular season, he's dynamic. In the playoffs, he collapses. So I'll say it one last time. The Green Bay Packers are the Notre Dame of professional football. And if you guys decide to continue another season with Aaron Rodgers, I expect either a Lombardi or a Super Bowl appearance at the end of that season. Until then, miss us all with that go pack go nonsense. As for the rest of the fans of the NFC teams that criticize our conference for beating Tom Brady harder than it seems, this guy comes in with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you all allowed him to be your conference championship. I don't care if this video gets dislikes. I want you all who critique the AFC beating Tom Brady harder than it should be to type in the comments section. And I'd like you all to apologize to the fans of the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars, Tennessee Titans, Denver Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, and the Raiders. Fans of all those teams for shaming us when you allowed him to just walk into the Super Bowl like it's nothing. You all had Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, Aaron Donald, Nick Foles, Khalil Mack, Alvin Kamara, Carson Wentz, Teddy Bridgewater, and Nick Mullintana and Jimmy Garoppolo. You all were pumping your chest saying, Tom ain't gonna do shit in the NFC, and welcome to the NFC, or welcome to the NFC South, like he's nothing. And yet he's the guy that's repping your conference in this year's Super Bowl. Shame on you all, National Football Conference fans. Shame on you all! To wrap up this video, I'm rooting for Kansas City to win, because I'm for anyone except Tom Brady. But I've seen this comic book before, with the Seahawks in the early 2010s and with the Rams in the early 2000s. The Chiefs won their Super Bowl in finesse, and then comes Tom Brady next season to put them in their place in the grandest stage of all. I hope I'm wrong when I said all that, but the point I'm trying to make is that I don't care who wins the Super Bowl, because I feel the expected is going to happen. And in the realm of surprises, this was a rather disappointing season. It wasn't as bad as the 2018-2019 season, where one no call resulted the entire season, but it was somewhere close to that, simply because it's the same old, same old. Rodgers gets exposed. Buffalo becomes that underdog team that performed underwhelming against the team sitting on the Iron Throne who are going to the Super Bowl again against Tom Brady and a team that he begged like crazy to assemble to set up his comfort zone that allowed him to be competitive. Bottom line, rather than an intriguing competition to where nobody saw coming, this season, the lines were drawn in the sand before this season even began. And I really hope that's a different case as this decade of the NFL progresses. If not my Dolphins, at least let's see droughts broken. Teams finally achieve that first Lombardi so that the fans of certain teams that get shitted on each and every single year, each and every single decade, because they root for an organization that has been unsuccessful for years, to finally achieve that glory. Tier list needs to change, and teams that have dominated for the last 10 years, like the Packers, the Seahawks, the Ravens, and the Steelers, need to start packing their bags. Because if you can't beat Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, you're not going anywhere. All the wins that you've got in a regular season mean nothing, and all the records you set in the NFL, it's as fans say, it don't mean a thing if you ain't got a ring. Well done to the... Now, on a slightly happier subject, I would like to say, well done to the Cleveland Browns, the Buffalo Bills, and the Washington football team. You all made it to the playoffs, and you lost. But to the fans and the teams, and the coaching staff, everything that's affiliated with that, of all those three teams who have suffered miserably for years, at least you three teams at least exit with your heads held high, knowing that with the regular standards the world expected upon you, you stepped up beyond your limits. And hopefully after that step, you keep that energy going in the next season and the season after that. And that same goes to you, Arizona. Just like us, we were the top best team to sit on the couch before the playoffs. Before the playoffs began. And it's up to each of us to go further than we expected. I hope in this decade, unlike last, we'll see at least 2 teams achieve their first championship, or if not, end their long-awaited drought. As for the fans of the teams that made it to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs' kingdom that dug up a gold mine of players before digging up more, and the Buccaneers fans, because I don't know the proper name of that fan base, who simply found the map that would lead them to the treasure, that is Tom Brady to another Super Bowl, where some of us can't get enough of, and others have had enough of that same old story. Have at it. I couldn't give 2 fucks. Congratulations, nonetheless, and that's all I have to say. This is Dolphignition, breaching out.